Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our renovation webinar. For those that don't know me, my name's Ian Thompson. I run the Lawn Shed. I've been doing greenkeeping and working in product management, product development, and running a lawn shed for quite a while now, well over 20 years. Kevin is with us today. He's got a background in turf management, working at Blacktown Sports Park during the Olympics back in 2000. And for many years now, he has been, I guess, providing advice to expert greenkeepers. So he's been, providing technical advice to some of the great golf courses and sporting fields around the New South Wales area. Kev, do you want to provide a bit more of your background?
Yeah, look, as Ian said, been doing it for about 30 years, sales rep for about 22 years now. As Ian said, sports fields, golf courses, councils, anything along those lines where we're working. I'm on the living turf side of the business, and get around seeing all those people, helping them out on a daily basis with their turf, basically.
Cool. All right. So thanks everyone for joining us. Obviously, this is recorded, so if you need to jump off for any reason, it'll be sent to your email inbox that you're registered with once you're done. It'll also be available on our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. It's called Lawn Flicks. So yeah, check it out. So obviously today we're sort of approaching a renovation period for a lot of grass types in a lot of areas. So a very important topic to cover. So looking at when to renovate, types of renovations, and not all renovations suit all lawns. There's particular times that you would use particular renovations. So we'll cover that. Timing of renovation, other renovation practices. So, what sort of fertilizing you can use, what sort of soil type for top dressing and what soil type you might have. And then obviously renovation is a extremely large process. So we'll be looking at ways that you can reduce the requirement for renovation in the future. So things like looking at your nitrogen usage. A new product we've got that we're launching that is great for controlling thatch, which is called Thatchzyme, and looking at the role that soil microbes play in that dissolving of thatch as well. So firstly, to start, when to renovate. Look, not every lawn needs a renovation, but a lot of them do. So, if you've got excessive thatch, so if you've got a lot of build-up of those stems and crowns and leaf material, that isn't good. In terms of excessive thatch, usually about 12 mils of thatch is totally fine. Can actually be beneficial because it can regulate the soil temperatures in the soil. But once it starts to get well over an inch and things like that, that's excessive thatch. You're stopping water movement, you're stopping air movement, and creating a poorer lawn. Excessive compaction, so depending on what sort of happens on your lawn, whether it's foot traffic, whether it's a young child that likes to play soccer like my lawn, often compaction occurs, and you do need to get out there and do a renovation for compaction. Obviously, when you're looking to reduce compaction versus remove thatch, they're completely different renovations. So that's something we'll cover later. Poor drainage or water pooling. If you tried a wetting agent and the water's still not going in, then that's a good reason to renovate as well. Poor response from fertilizing. Obviously, if there's no oxygen in your soil, microbe activity can be quite low, and you're not getting that mineralization of nutrition, and that's when you're getting a poor response from your fertilizing. So if you're getting response from your liquid feeds but not your granulars, that could be a good indicator that there's a bit of a problem with your soil oxygen. And then obviously, if you're looking to oversow, so something like scarifying is a good way to put some new seed into the surface if you're looking to oversow cooch with ryegrass or some other option, coquille with ryegrass maybe. Yeah, so there's the often the reasons to renovate your lawn. The types of renovations and when to use them. So there are a few types of renovations, so I'll try to go through them. Scalping is the most common one that we use. Very easy to do. All you need is a mower, basically, and a mower that you can sort of go lower. So scalping is essentially mowing lower. What you would usually do is if, for example, you wanted to mow your lawn on 4 on a regular basis, you drop it down 1 or 2 positions below that. Now, this is a gradual process. If you're mowing at 4 and you just go straight into 2, you can damage your lawn because rather than cutting the lawn, it actually starts to tear the lawn out. And can do that sort of damage. It can also slow down the blades on the mower, which then causes damage to your mower. So you do it gradually, you go down one height at a time, and often double cut at that height before going down to a second height. So scalping, the main reason for that, doesn't really get to thatch unless you're scalping with a cylinder mower. It's designed to remove tired old leaves. So it's something I like to do in spring, in September. I've got a couch lawn that's not quite ready for a renovation yet, but just taking a little bit of that old leaf off and getting a little bit of new leaf in is a great way to sort of start the spring process. If you're new to renovations, it's a good one to do. You'll often find that you take off a lot more material. Well, that's probably true about every renovation, I think. Every renovation type that we do, you generally take out a lot more material than you expect. The next one is verticutting. So this is vertical blades. You can just see here on our diagram there, we've got a couple of different renovation types. Verticutting is essentially thinning out the surface. So what you're doing there is you can be removing grain. If you're cutting with a cylinder mower, you can be cutting blades that have been rolled down. So if you imagine with a cylinder mower with a roller, it often rolls the leaves down and then the mower can't actually cut them properly. So it just flicks those up and allows you to cut them properly. The other thing it can do in sort of stoloniferous grasses is it actually cuts a lot of those runners on top and can actually create far more growing points and can actually end up with a far thicker, denser lawn. Yeah, so that's verticutting. Scarifying, a little bit similar to verticutting in that you've got a vertical blade. Because it's going deeper into the soil, you have a lot less blades. They're further apart. And the idea of this one is to pull out thatch. So the vertical blade goes all the way down through your thatch. So before you go ahead and start scarifying, you'd pull a plug or you'd dig into your soil and look at the depth of your thatch, and you'd make sure that your blade goes all the way through, because what you want to do is create a channel. So you usually top dress after scarifying to create a channel of air and nutrients and things like that movement. So you can see in that diagram there, it goes all the way through the thatch zone down to the root zone, and it's got a little, basically a little hook on the end, which basically helps flip the thatch out. So that's what scarifying does. Top dressing is something that you can do to sort of dilute the thatch. As the thatch builds up, you can top dress, but primarily it's used for leveling the surface or filling in after coring or dethatching or scarifying. The next one is solid tine aeration. So you can see a whole lot of different tines here. So these are all put on your coring machine. Lots of different types of coring machines out there and lots of different cores. You can see the solid tines there, and you can see one that's called a shatter tine. The idea of a solid tine is to alleviate compaction. Now, this is not necessarily something you would do. Not a lot of people do this one. You do it on golf courses. It's less common on the home lawn. Most home lawns would pull a core, which means they're hollow tining. So solid tining can reduce compaction, but you're not pulling a plug out. So you're not actually removing any thatch or anything like that. But if you've got compaction and no thatch, that's the way to go ahead. So the good old garden fork is an easy way if you've got a small area that needs to do it. I can highly recommend not attempting that on a large area. A good way to break your garden fork, your foot, and your motivation on your lawn. It can take a long time to do an aeration by hand. Hollow tine, as I mentioned, is basically a hollow tine. So you've got hollows, which is top eject and side eject. So what you're doing there is you're pulling out a small plug. Again, like the scarifying, you want to make sure that your height is going all the way through the thatch into that soil. So you're pulling a core that's through the thatch zone so that you've got a now perfectly beautiful channel of air movement and nutrients and water and things like that. So that's the whole point of hollow tine. Yeah, timing of renovation. So just before this meeting, I thought I'd go out and check the soil temperature. Now, I live in Sydney. The soil temperature here this morning, just a couple of, probably 20 minutes ago, it's about 3:30. It was 14.8 degrees at 100 mils. So for those that are tempted to, or might have already done renovation, you probably understand that the grass is still moving a little bit slowly at this time. So it does depend on your grass type, obviously. Something like kikuyu, buffalo, a little bit more active at lower temperatures. Things like cooch, which is the one that I'll probably be renovating this season. It's still quite cold for cooch to be actively growing. So at the moment, I'm sort of mowing that probably every 10 to 14 days. So not prime for a renovation at this point. The reason I've got the photo of the horses there is for Sydney, you're looking at Melbourne Cup Day is the way I describe it. Pretty similar in Victoria if you're doing warm season grasses. If you're doing cool, I should say, obviously in Queensland, much warmer temperatures earlier in the season. The September renovation's definitely not out of the question if you're in Queensland. It really comes down to how often you're mowing. If you're mowing once a week, you're probably in that situation where you can give it a renovation. That's not to say that you can't renovate at different times of the year, but obviously the recovery when the grass is less actively growing is a lot slower. So, I could renovate my cooch tomorrow. It would just take a lot longer to recover, whereas if I do it in November, I know that within a couple of weeks it'll be good to play soccer on again, which is obviously important to my son. He doesn't like it when I renovate the lawn. Obviously, avoid the summer heat. The real reason there is obviously if you're top dressing, the top dressing dries out quickly. If it's sitting on the leaf, it'll burn the leaf. So that's not something you want. Obviously, avoid winter dormancy because the lawn won't recover. You'll get a lot of weed and whether it's grassweed or broadleaf weed germinating in those holes. Pro tip, obviously, soil should be moist but not soggy. So particularly if you're doing a coring, getting the right level of moisture in that soil so the plug comes out nicely is very important. So look to do some irrigation beforehand, but obviously if you've had lots of rainfall, that could be a bit of a challenge. Just some renovation tips. So look, if you're coring or dethatching, mowing low is a great way to sort of help, I guess, make it easy to pick up the thatch and the cores once you've done pulling it all out. It makes it a bit easy to pick that up, and obviously that's key to remove that material. Obviously, mark sprinkler heads, rocks, and cables. As I said, when you're pulling a plug and you're looking at how deep you're renovating into that lawn, it's important to understand how deep you're going and whether that's going to impact anything. The last thing you want to do is use your core and hit a rock or a cable or anything there that you might need to replace or might cause an issue. Water lawn 1 to 2 days before scarifying or aerating. So just talking about getting that right level of moisture in the lawn. That's a good indicator. Give it a solid water 1 to 2 days before. Water deeply and regularly. So after renovation, you're going to be looking to drive that deep root zone. Obviously, some nice deep watering is key during that period. Hopefully, with if you've done the renovation properly and you've got those beautiful air channels, you'll be able to get some real nice deep watering in there. So a wetting agent and fertilizers, fantastic things to put on at that time. Obviously, fertilizer driving the growth, wetting agent renovation is probably a good one to add, because often top dressing soil, if it's been sitting in a landscape bay for a period, it's often quite hydrophobic, so good one to add after renovation. Keep traffic off it until it's recovered. So 2 to 3 weeks is a guide, but obviously if you're doing a renovation in a peak growing period, it's going to be covered over and be good to use before that. If you're doing it in a slow growing period, it's not going to be ready to use in 2 to 3 weeks. So just use common sense there. Once it's covered over and ready and dealing with foot traffic, then make sure you can open it up. Avoiding post-emergent herbicides. So as you can imagine, you've done a renovation, you've added some fertilizer, you've got these nice new supple shoots coming through, all this nice new lush green soft growth. It is susceptible to herbicides. So, for example, if you're using bow and arrow on your lawn, obviously normally wouldn't harm it, but if you've got these nice new juvenile shoots, it can do some damage there. So if you do have a bit of a weed problem, spray that 1 or 2 weeks before your renovation. Like I said, pull a plug and know the depth. So before you start coring and dethatching, understand what depth you need to go to. Because if you've got a depth of thatch, let's say 25 mil, and you're only going in 10 mil, then you're not creating that air channel. So unfortunately, you're going to waste a lot of time and money doing a renovation that's just not going to have the desired success. So getting it all the way through and creating that air channel is extremely important. Core spacing, this is probably one of the most common mistakes I see with renovations. There are a couple of different coring machines out there available at hire places. One of them is called basically a tumble corer, and the other one is a gear-driven corer. So the gear-driven ones you can sort of set so they core at a certain spacing, whereas the tumble ones often the spacing is much larger. So what you want basically is a 2 by 2 inch or a 3 by 2 inch spacing. So if you think most of the cores on the back of the coring machines are usually 2 inches, so you want 2 to 3 inches moving forward between the cores. So if you're doing it by hand, a bit of tape or something like that that's 2 or 3 inches long, so you can move it along. Cable tie is another option, just so you can see how far you're going. If you're using a machine, just make sure you set it up properly. If the tumble corer is the only option available to you, have a look at the width. Look the spacing between the cores, basically moving forward, and maybe you might have to run back over that area 2 or 3 times to get better spacing. So the reason you do that is because a 3 by 2 inch pulls about 8% of the thatch out of the lawn, and that's what you want to be achieving. If you're not achieving that much, probably need to look at another option. So scarifying is also a good option there if you don't have access to the right corer. So other renovation practices. I think, Kev, I might hand over to you here.
Yep, thank you, Ian. So yeah, Ian's covered off everything pretty well, and then we get through to top dressing. So the point being is when you're choosing your top dressing material, soil or sand, or a combination of that, just make sure you do your research, find a good soil yard that's obviously local to you, makes it easy. But just be very careful. Don't be afraid to go to your soil yard, ask to have a look at it before you buy it. I don't know how many times you hear people buy soil and then they top dress and it's full of rocks and bark and glass and whatever. Where you can, make sure you buy a good screen soil. There's a lot of recycled soils around these days, so be aware if you buy that, it'll typically get a lot of bark and possibly some glass and other matter in it. So if you can buy a virgin soil, that's good. And as we said, usually they'll be classed in here. You can see sandy, so it drains fast. Downside is it does have low nutrient retention. You can use the USGA sand. And then if you want to add some organic into a sand profile, you can do that once you've opened up the profile with the aeration. Things like as manures or carbon products are great there. Obviously, if you've got clay, holds water, it compacts easy. Adding some organic matter at your time of top dressing or an 80-20 type sand mix can help you increase your drainage and also reduce the ability to create compaction. And then the sandy loam is, if you've got a good soil, it's a good mixture. And just, yeah, as it says there, keep an eye out for stones, which is why I'd say choose a reputable soil yard. So usually the bigger ones, and these days they're a lot better than they used to be. And just sort of ask, if you can, ask a lot of questions. Where's the sand coming from? Where's the material coming from? Is it recycled? That sort of thing. The better, it's the old soil. The saying with soil is like the old oil, and oils ain't oils and soils ain't soil. So do your research. Don't buy the cheapest one. If you have to pay a couple of bucks more by doing that to get the good quality, I'd suggest that. And ideally, if you've constructed your lawn, try and stick to the same material year after year. If you top dress on an annual event, it'll make a much better profile. After you've done all that, fertilizing. So after the renovation to aid recovery, sometimes people will put out a little bit of fertilizer before renovation to get it kicking beforehand. Obviously, lots of water it in well. Avoid the over fertilizing. As it says there, it can burn the new tips, much like the herbicide. So get it in, give it a good wash. Again, choose a good quality fertilizer and avoid over fertilizing. It's better to do little and often to bring it back. Next slide, Ian, if you're there.
Yep. Right. I think I must have done too many, Kev.
That's all right.
Yeah, so just reducing the requirement for a renovation. Obviously, renovations can be a bit of fun, but they can also take up your whole weekend and be quite costly. And it's not something we want to do every year. If you're managing some of these things, you can reduce your requirement for renovation to significantly less. For example, I've got a hybrid couch lawn, 200 square metres of Santa couch in Sydney. I've sort of scalped it each year, but I've only actually caught it once in about 9 years of owning that lawn. So just because I've done some of these things in terms of managing. Nitrogen use is probably the biggest one. So obviously when you're looking for fertilizers in NPK ratio, we're always looking for one with really high nitrogen, because there's obviously this thought of bang for your buck type thing and lots of greening and lots of leaf, but just have a think about the drawbacks of having a lot of readily available nitrogen and the amount of thatch or material that might cause, and how that leads to more renovations more regularly. So yeah, using controlled release forms, avoid overuse with your nitrogen. You can, if you're using a lot of nitrogen, you're going to have a lot of growth, a lot of scalping that causes a lot of disease as well. So it's not just that, there's a lot of other things there. One of our webinars, the Lawn Lovers webinar, which is available on our Lawn Flicks YouTube channel, that shows you how to calculate your nitrogen usage. So a very handy thing to have, especially if you have a fast-growing lawn like a kikuyu or a hybrid that can grow quite quickly and create a lot of thatch very quickly if not managed effectively. Obviously, balance it with potassium and phosphorus. Look for products with added thatch digesting soil microbes. So anything you can do to sort of help reduce that thatch is beneficial. Yeah, one of the other things we can look at reducing thatch is soil microbes. So a lot of our fertilizers have soil microbes in them, such things as beneficial bacteria such as bacillus species. What these do, and this is something that I had to get my head around back when I was first starting out as a greenkeeper, I pictured, Pac-Man, little microbes eating away at thatch, which is completely wrong because they don't have mouths. That's not how it works. What these microbes do is they actually create enzymes, and then these enzymes break down the thatch into compounds that they can then absorb. So in terms of bacillus, it creates an enzyme called cellulase, and then another one which is xylonasis. So two different enzymes which start to break down the thatch. Another one that's common in our fertilizers is beneficial fungi. So fungi, so you're thinking mushrooms and things like that. trichoderma species. So they also create enzymes which break down cellulase. Oh, sorry, that's the cellulase is the enzyme that they create. So they break down cellulose. So when we're talking about all those different enzymes that are created, I've sort of put up a bit of an image here to sort of help you understand. So when the bacteria, what they create is enzymes that break down the hemicellulose and the cellulose. So you can see there they're rapidly decomposed and easily decomposed. So we often have microbes already, beneficial microbes in our soil. Adding them with fertilizers is good because it just keeps ramping those numbers up. Obviously, the higher numbers, the more they can break down your thatch. This product, Thatch Sign, is pretty much different to everything else on the market because it not only does it contain that cellulase, which breaks down the cellulose, it actually contains lacase, which breaks down the lignin. Now, lignin is very important in plants. It's more important in trees. Essentially, what it is it's a component within plants that helps it, gives it its strength. So the more lignin content in a tree than there is in a grass plant, obviously. So the more lignin content, the more ability it has to grow higher and higher. So lignin is very highly resistant to decomposition. So if you think of thatch cyme is essentially those enzymes that the microbes are creating, as well as an added enzyme already bottled up, ready to go. So if you're putting fertilizers out with microbes, those microbes then have to basically create the enzyme and then, ongoing things. If you're applying fungicides and things like that, they can actually knock off and kill some of your microbes. So in this case, the enzyme's already there, already doing its work. So we've seen some really good results. This is something we've brought over from the US where they're seeing great results, and we're seeing good results in some golf courses in Sydney as well. And it's being rapidly absorbed by the industry, isn't it, Kev?
Yes, it's brand new. I guess the thing to snapshot of all that technical scientific stuff is that basically it will help manage your thatch on a level as opposed to removing it. So we're not saying you won't be doing renovations, but what we're saying is you can get a lot more period between renovations and keep a lot less thatch in your profile through the growing season by using a product such as Thatch Sign in your program with your microbial boosted fertilizers. So it's a new tool in the tool shed, I guess, to help take the lawns to the next level. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. These are things that reduce your need for renovation. It's not a silver bullet. There will still be renovation, but if you can reduce your nitrogen usage, if you can increase your microbes, if you can put some enzymes in the soil there, you're going to reduce your frequency of renovation. Okay, and that about wraps up our presentation for today. If you've got any questions about renovation, we'd love some feedback because we're just starting out with these webinars. There's the email address there, phone number there. Probably won't get me this afternoon, but I'm about to go off to kids' sport. But yeah, feel free to give us a call tomorrow or anytime. Feel free to send us a text through as well if that works for you. At the moment, we've got a special renovation deal for all the people that are listening, which is $15 off some of the renovation 20-kilo fertilizers there, so MP Origin, MP Spectrum, and MP Couchmaster. Just use the code RENO, all lowercase. That expires at the end of the month, so get onto that quickly. Just another thing on our website, obviously being September, if you're new to lawn care or just want to check out what you have in mind for the season ahead, on our website there's a drop-down menu with expert advice. The hints and tips is a section you can search if you're searching, plant growth regulators or renovations. We've got blogs that are written by myself, not by AI or someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, written by someone who has done a lot of these renovations and things like that. So lots of good hints and tips there. And like I said, like that's highlighted there, our lawn guides is an example of one there up in the top left corner. They're broken up by lawn type, so feel free to grab your lawn type if you have any questions, or if you have some particular problems with your lawn. Feel free to take some photos of the lawn and send it through anytime to that email address, and I can give you a hand. All right. So that's it from us. Thanks everyone for signing in. If you have any questions, as I said, just please reach out. And hopefully everyone has a great spring and summer with their lawn. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.